Thanks for everybody who's joined us. I guess you get a sense this is not overly produced, overly formal. I'm a real guy. I'm an investor in multiple businesses. I can't even imagine how many LLCs I have now because of the restaurants. Every time we open a restaurant, it's another LLC. As we build out the business and we acquire restaurants, there are always unusual arrangements. So my day job is overseeing our business, which is growing this group of restaurants. I'm going to talk to you about how we get it done. Tasty Equity is fundamentally a private equity firm. Our most recent activity is we started with 4 restaurants, which you guys would have heard about, who've been with us for since late 2019. 2020, the downturn halted all activity in restaurant acquisition or construction. Going into 2021, we started seeing some franchise operators in our hothead and rapid fire system who were fatiguing. They didn't get all the loans. They didn't have the patience for it. And we helped a private group acquire 7 restaurants. Those are the ones on the picture. That grew our group of restaurants under management to 11. Technically, Tasty Equity owners still own the 4. We have not finished the action so that granting part of that equity that Pete and I have in the new 7 stores will be granted to Tasty Equity. I'll announce that in an upcoming call. But be assured that the goal is to get to the 3 years and have a liquidity event, which is how we create value for you and how you make money with your money. We'll talk about that more. But it's a real win. We feel like we delivered on our promise going from 4 to 11 in 2021, despite all the disruption. I mentioned that a number of franchisees offered their stores for sale. There were 7 hotheads that offered themselves for sale after we bought the 7 hotheads on the right-hand side of the screen. So we had been operating the left-hand side of Ohio, so to speak. Now we picked up 7 stores on the right-hand side. Those targets, all apologies to the Target logo people, are the stores that remain for us to acquire. There are 5 still left in play. 2 of them got acquired by a friendly other operator. That tends to happen. My brother Ray would tell you that's how Subway grew. Successful operators acquired weak operators, and they got bigger and bigger, and that's how they built the brand. So we're doing the same thing. We have an immediate offer out in a store that's in Youngstown, and we're excited about it. I think we'll get it to closure here in the next week or so. If we do, we want to mimic that model and acquire as many of the 5 remaining stores as we can in February, March, April. That leads me to my simple mantra: acquire these. They're right in front of our face. We can take them over. One was owned by a family with is owned by a family with a bunch of Dairy Queens, and the hothead is just not getting attention. The other is owned by somebody with a lot of coffee shops. The hothead's not getting attention. So these are not derelict stores. They're stores that were owned by multi-brand operators that just aren't getting the attention. They're not running the sales gains we are. We'll take over these stores and ramp them up, just like we've turned around stores in our own portfolio that we purchased previously. Then we'll focus on building out these Northern Ohio markets. Notice the map is overlaid with some gold states and some blue states in the back. The gold states, about 15 states, have active hothead or rapid fire area developers. We happen to be the area developer for Northern Ohio for both brands. So we're focusing in our own footprint right now. Buy what we can because it's quick, and expand our portfolio and our operating income, and then start citing leases in these stores. These are our top 10 areas. Actually, a subset of this is our top 10. I'm actually actively working with the real estate company out of Cleveland that has large footprint from Cleveland to Youngstown to into Pittsburgh and over to Toledo. And we believe we can find some joint marketing agreements to do just this. Put up a billboard that says coming soon, right? Seeking franchisees. I actually like the coming soon version because we're flexible. We'll build the store ourselves, like a spec builder builds homes and hopes to sell them. Or if we find a franchisee, because we get inquiries regularly from them, then we'll build it for the franchisee. And if the franchisee is well qualified operationally, but doesn't have quite enough money, then we'll joint venture with the franchisee. However we do it, our goal is to get 10 stores up a year. Now, what's really important for you guys to understand, I mentioned some of those weaker operators, they just didn't have the time, energy, and patience, and people with sophisticated banking experience to get them through the disaster relief loan applications, the grant applications, Paycheck Protection Program applications, and most recently, the employee retention tax credits. We have literally received from the government $1.8 million And don't think it's like we're fat on the hog. All this money we got for the grants and the PPP and PPP2 was spent almost immediately by retaining our staff, paying our vendors, and in some cases helping support remodels that were critically needed. So it's not like we get to use that money as owners. That money is not distributable as profit. It got absorbed into the system. Now, that's not all true for EIDL 1 and EIDL 2. That's the Economic Injury Disaster Relief Loans. We literally picked up a very substantial dollar amount, about $800,000 of that money is long-term 30-year money, allowing us to have some options to pay off our current bank loans, pay off some other short-term debt, basically reduce our debt load and increase our cash flows. So we're cautiously approaching those decisions here as we have one more loan. We've got an EIDL 2 that's pending for $500,000 for one of our restaurants. As soon as that one funds, then we're going to make some decisions, but hopefully to retire, like for example, we have 5-year-old or 10-year-old restaurants 5 years in on their loan, but you're really paying a lot of interest and the loan payoff is only $150,000. Why not take part of the $350,000 and pay that off? And that would increase our cash flow $7,000 a month because then we don't have to make that payment. But it looks great to the banker to see that in our bank account. Having that large cash reserve of, if I go back, it could be $1.5, $1.6 million. That is a substantial cash reserve for a restaurant business with 11 stores. So that's going to allow us to make these deals to buy the available restaurants. And then it gives both the bankers and the landlords confidence as we expand to lease the new restaurants that we have on our agenda in towns like Cuyahoga Falls and Akron and a couple small towns just south of Cleveland that are well in our footprint. We're serviced by our operations executives and our area supervisors. We also, as I noted at the bottom of this slide, have a couple of very high net worth investors who are friends of mine who've said, Chris, for every $50,000 you raise, I'll match you $50,000 to build a restaurant. Just don't call me. The passive investor style, that's what Elena's here to help with. Let's see. I mentioned that the goal of talking today is these are our strategic objectives. These are the things we are executing on. We executed on them last year. We're going to execute them on this year. I want you guys to have confidence that this is not a hobby. This is a business for this purpose of raising capital, of creating value from the capital that we're raising. So one of the things that's been a driver for us is the tax incentives, what's called bonus depreciation. So in 2017, late 17, technically it was passed in early 18, but it was backdated. The tax laws passed by the Trump administration increased what used to be 50% credit for what you built, cost of building a store, to 100% credit. What that means is, in this one little example, if I can kind of point at it on the screen, if I open a store and it costs $500,000, I get $500,000 tax credit that we don't have to pay taxes on. You, me, investors, everybody involved, we don't have to pay taxes on that. The government allows us to shield the profit of up to $500,000. That's generally your first 3 to 4 years of earnings. So we want to get as many stores open before the tax incentives wind down. They're going to be going down, as my understanding, 25% per year over the next 4 years under the Build Back Better plans or whatever pork barrel politics occurred to get that done. So we have a limited horizon for the tax incentives. So we want to run even faster, build stores. So the more you all contribute as capital, the faster we can go. So just reminding you, we started with 4 stores when we went public. It took us 2-3 years to build those, more than 1 a year. We now have 9 hotheads and 2 rapid fired. So we're just a little bit below our plan, which would have had us at 14. And we're committed to delivering on that promise and delivering 10 more restaurants, whether we buy them or build them, in 2022. I hope I can achieve that goal. There's thankfully, the COVID flu wave is passing. It has been brutal for our management teams, but most people have had it and they're back. We're fully staffed. Finally, we have full crews of managers and almost full crews of staff, despite the big quit. Now, part of that I want to talk about is why we're doing these modernization things. We'll come up to it in a second. But our goal, just to recap, for 2022 is to raise $1 million. That will fund on our own 10 down payments in cooperation with our friends, 20 down payments. I don't think I can find 20 leases in 1 year. Each restaurant will generate up to $100,000 a year in cash flow. Therefore, building 10 restaurants creates the potential to generate $1 million a year in cash flow, which is 10 more down payments, right? We are not a dividend business. Like half of the people on NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange, we are a value creation business. We reinvest all the money we create. I haven't taken a nickel of money out of the company since we started funding stores. Neither has my brother Pete, who's the founder. This for us is a capital generation business because we have other sources of income that sustain us. So we're just like you as investors. We need to get to the liquidity event out here in 2023 in order to take on an institutional investor. That's how it usually happens. Jimmy John's famously was going to go public, and instead, an institutional investor, it was either BlackRock or Blackstone, bought 40 or 50 or 60% of his company, and they just kept going on as they're going on. There's over 100 institutional investors who are on the hunt constantly for restaurants who have bundles of 20 or 30 or more restaurants who are part of franchise systems of 1 to 200 stores. And they come and they don't buy you out, they buy in. And when they buy in at a higher valuation than you invested. You invested at a low valuation, just like all angel stocks. By the time we get to 30 stores, instead of being worth 4 times the price of the profitability, we're worth 12 times the profitability. So this is a value creation business. We want to get to those 30 restaurants, no dividends in the meantime. You want to keep an eye on how fast we're putting restaurants up. We also noticed something really interesting is that of our 2,400 investors, you can see them scattered on the map. Well, remember where my construction zone was over here in Ohio? Barely 20% of our investors are in the proximity of a restaurant. You guys are investors. You're investing for an opportunity to create value. We do have a small number of investors who invest for the perks in the restaurants, and that's why you get the discount cards. But I want to, for those of you who haven't been near our restaurants or don't know anything about them, I'm going to talk next about the strategic initiatives that are driving us to grow. But right now, this is what our investor pool looks like. It grows every day. We're really excited to be ramping up for 2022. Those of you who follow us closely will have noticed it got kind of quiet during the holidays because it's super expensive to advertise then. We started ramping up second week of January, and we're going up about 30% a week. We got our official extension in late of December to go all the way through 2022. Hope to raise that $1 million. And for us, the customers are finally back in the dining rooms. Now, our Hothead brand flourished despite the fact it was all carryout, but our Rapid Fire brand really is a family dine-in restaurant. So to give you just a couple of high points about these brands, Hothead is Chipotle on steroids. I'm going to show you how. Rapid Fire is twice as many ingredients as any of the other fast pizza places. If you've been to Blaze, if you've been to Mod or Pieology or Pie 5, they're like little deli shops with 5 kinds of things to choose from. We have, I think it's something like 60 major toppings and 30 or 40 sauces and other toppings. And on top of that, I'll talk in a minute about, we have dozens of custom sauces. People dip their pizza in the custom sauces like they do in the Northeast. But it's a fast, it's a queue line business. We move people fast. We get pizzas done in 180 seconds. Unfortunately, if you're the last guy in line, it might take you 15 minutes to get to the front line, but super popular. We're working on ways to streamline that to ordering on the app. This is the range. This is the best pretty pictures I could find. So when we do a custom pizza, every pizza is custom. The customer points and grunts and tells us what they want. We pile it on the way they want it. Same thing with our salads. Anything you can have on a pizza, you can have on a salad. So that's how Italian restaurants have done it forever, right? We even have pastas. Everything that can go on a pizza, go on a pasta. Calzones in 180 seconds. That is unheard of. Nobody serves calzones for lunch food unless they're pre-cooked, pre-designed. You get the pepperoni and mushroom, or you get the vegetarian, but you don't get a choice. In our case, you get it in 180 seconds, any way you want it. And then the side orders. So we're talking about side orders as driving the business. It's one thing to be super fast. It's another thing to be getting sales gains because of the fact that we are fast. We do have the massive variety, and we have been kicking butt in the Hothead brand. We were in 2020, we were 5% over 2019, which is unheard of for same store sales gains. And then 2021, we were 10% over 2020. So we're doing really, really well operationally. The Achilles heel has been labor has been extremely expensive, not because people's hourly wage went up so much. We were short so many crew that our dedicated management teams were working 20, 30 hours a week of overtime to keep the restaurants open. Any of you near our restaurants would have seen the hours curtailed, but we didn't do what Chipotle did. Chipotle closed all their dining rooms and went all digital. The only way you can get food at Chipotle is to order on their app. They're driving everybody into the digital realm. We're old fashioned. You walk down the line, you point at what you want, and you get it. Yeah, you can order it on the app. Some people order on the app and pick it up in pickup windows where we have them. But we have awesome, it's Chipotle on steroids. I was a loyal Chipotle customer for a long time because there was one across the street from my office in Boulder. But the problem is it was the same. This way, it's not the same every time. Sometimes you can get it toasted. You can get tacos on Taco Tuesday. The quesadilla is amazing. You try our quesadilla, try Chipotle. Chipotle's is bland, boring. We brought in things like the Teriyaki Bowl as a limited time offer. It's a big part of our strategy in the year, driving limited time offers to test and see what people like. It was so ragingly popular. And by the way, Teriyaki Bowls were a Seattle thing, right? Anywhere you had a heavy Southeast Asian community, you would see half a chicken, cabbage, and rice in a box, right? That was my lunch for many years when I lived in downtown, worked in downtown Seattle. Well, suddenly in a Mexican restaurant, the teriyaki chicken bowl is like the top 3 seller. It's part of our permanent menu. We toast everything. We invented the concept of toasting the bowls, toasting the burritos, truly toasting the quesadillas. Now Chipotle has followed us and is deploying the toaster ovens. And don't forget the sides. What happens when you buy side orders, it increases the value of the ticket. So not only do we have side orders like guacamole and queso and pico and other sauces, we have fun stuff, the fried stuff. Churros are just like you get at a fair, chopped up in little pieces with icing on them. We got the pretzel bites. I'm not so crazy about those. I do like pretzels with peanut butter in them, though. I don't know if anybody else likes those at Costco. And then we've got jalapeno poppers. It'll burn your face off if you want to. But the point is, if you're normally coming in and buying an $8 or $9 burrito, and now you buy $3.99 churros and a drink, our dollar per ticket's going up. It's very strategic. When we bought the 7 stores in the Northeast, and by the way, I forgot to mention, Rapid Fire has side orders too. They're pies. Julie, cherry pie, apple pie, blueberry pie. The people don't buy them unless they see them. So we're having to be very actively offering them on the line, giving out tasty bites of them, that sort of thing. These 2 items right here, the churros, the fried stuff, and the side order pizzas, literally drive the dollar per ticket from $10 to $15. So if you're going to have a weekly traffic of normalized at, we'll see in a minute, say 1,000 customers a week, you've got to give them variety. What we found is we instituted a policy, no customer leaves the line without a sauce. All of these sauces are in bottles to buy, but they're in squirt bottles you can see there behind the line. We squirt little souffle cups so everybody gets a sauce. That's the difference between us and Chipotle. All these flavors, all these hot sauces. If you want to use the ghost pepper cream sauce, burn your face off, more power to you. But most of our customers like ranch or sweet habanero, right? But all of these sauces you see, Ray developed all of these with his team for Hothead, but then we propagated them all over to Rapid Fire. So when you go to Rapid Fire, almost all of these same sauces, slightly renamed, dirty little secret here, right? Spoiler alert, they're all the sauces from our Mexican restaurant. All of the hot sauces got relabeled with Rapid Fire labels, and they are all the same ones we built the first time. So one common franchise team developed these 2 brands. They were founded by my brother, Ray. Now, the technicality, Ray did sell the Rapid Fire franchise system in October. We still remain an area developer. We're super excited about that sale because it's a private equity firm that wants to accelerate the growth. And they were an area developer for the brand for a long time. Excuse me, my thing's getting interrupted here. Forgot to put my phone on airplane mode. Anyway, so an area developer with us for a couple of years bought the whole Rapid Fire brand. We're looking forward to them really pouring resources into the marketing. The gentleman that leads that group was the chief marketing officer at Yum Brands. He's a very smart man. He's got a great real estate guy, and they They finished their store tour, visiting all the franchisees for ideas in January or in December. They did it during December, crazy enough. And now they're getting ready to roll out a bunch of plans. So this is all about meal deals. Again, one thing about the fast casual restaurant business, you get a relatively constant number of customers per week. A snowstorm might slow it down, a sunny day might make it busier. But the bottom line is each store levels out at a number. I'll show you in just a minute. And but selling a meal deal, as our team that we learned from in Northeast Ohio when we acquired those 7 restaurants, they were doing $15 a ticket when our stores were doing 12. And when they came over to visit, they said, you're missing the opportunity. You've got to add the line to say, every time somebody orders a burrito for $1.50 more, you can have chips and salsa. Well, guess what? Like 40% of the customers go, yeah, that's a great idea. I was going to order salsa anyway, or I was going to order pop anyway. So the bundled meal deal is cheaper than adding on chips and salsa and pop alone. McDonald's invented the concept. There's a reason McDonald's is successful. You don't want to sell burritos by themselves or tacos by themselves. You want to sell bags of chips, sides of queso. You want to turn that $9 order into a $16 order. Crazy thing is that our consumer audience is spoiling themselves. They are spending like drunken sailors. We've always had a solid build it my way audience. So what you guys are investing in, the 2,000 of you who are not near one of our restaurants, you are investing in the fast casual revolution. It's not on this slide, but for the last 9 years, the fast casual industry has grown at over 9% a year, while the fast food industry is stable at 1% growth. So yeah, you could go buy McDonald's stock and just be flat and hopefully day trade it. Buying a share of stock with us is you are making the bet that we're going to build 20 or 30 more restaurants, that the value of our restaurants is going to increase, and we're going to take on that institutional investor and allow you to liquidate some or all of your interest for a gain on what you've done. That's our hope. Disclaimer, we can't be sure we're going to get there, but it sure seems to be going well right now since we got from 4 to 11 last year, and we're getting these huge increases in dollar per ticket. These are unprecedented jumps as long as I've been around the industry. Now, if customers weren't happy with us, they wouldn't be tipping. These are all the tips. What used to go in tip jars are now going through the chip reader on your phone, where you wave your chip or plug your card in, or buy through your rewards card. But this tip pool back in 2017, what we do is we take all the money in the tip jar and you divide it between the hours worked for everybody in the crew. What's much more sophisticated today, because it's all through the digital point of sale systems and the reward system. But over the last 2 years, our employees have gone from barely $2 to almost $3. That's a direct cash hourly income to our employees. So, on one hand, I'm a bleeding heart capitalist. I want to do well as a business owner, and I'm trying to protect the business so I can actually have employees. But at the other hand, I'm very cognizant of, we have a large crews of people who make a base pay of $10, $12, $13, $14, $15 an hour, but they're getting $285 on top of it. They're getting bonuses on top of it. Just so you feel good about what you're investing in, our store managers make just shy of $50,000 a year, and they can become a store manager within 6 months of joining us with 0 work experience in their life. College students go from from a crew to an assistant manager to a manager. We are creating jobs. We are creating livelihoods. When I do my store tours, my store managers hug me and cry. It's mind-blowing. I'm feeling guilty because I feel like they're held down in this lower wage income. They're buying houses on their $40,000 and $50,000 a year salaries. They're buying nice cars, and they're putting their kids through college. So, again, the bleeding heart capitalist side of me says we are doing good by our people, and our customers are reflecting that they're happy with what we're doing. So our goal is to drive up dollar per ticket, to drive variety, to drive the limited time offers, and to continually measure the satisfaction in the eyes of the customers. Now, catering is a big part of that. We don't cater in the rapid fire side because the pizzas don't stay hot long enough. We do pizza parties inside the restaurant for sports teams, and those are back. Soccer teams, band teams, baseball team meetings, come in, have 100 people get their own personal individualized pizzas at a discount. And we do real fundraisers, lots of them. in our stores, the waiting list to get on a fundraiser night, we do them only on Tuesdays, can back up 2 or 3 months. So we're doing right by the community. But building catering, such as graduation parties, sports team parties, school events where they cater for the teachers in the teachers' lounge, it is ramping back up. You know, I hate to make it this simple, but masks came off about a year ago. It took about 6 months before people decided to get in a room together. And we're mostly in Ohio. There's not a lot of mask wearing, but the coming back, the catering business is coming back. The orders are flowing in. We added a new website that makes it much easier to order. And typically they're 15, 20, 30, 40 person orders that the customer comes and picks them up. But this is a key strategy because 80% of the people that come to a catering have never tried the food before. They've never been to a hot dog. They've heard of us, but they go to Chipotle. So we've got to do this. It's part of our strategic initiative. So driving dollar per ticket, opportunistically acquiring and opening stores, driving the new limited time offers to continually test product, and putting on more and more events to train people to eat our food is our key strategy. I see I'm at 28 minutes, so I'll finish these last couple. We're moving from the old signage, just the way Chipotle did it, to digital. We got a lot of stores to redo the digital end, but digital has beautiful pictures of food, and they can be live video clips like you see at McDonald's with the cup of coffee being poured when you're in there getting your Egg McMuffin. We're emulating that, and people literally point up and say, I want whatever's on there. That has the added benefit of making the lines go faster, because now we're selling our craft, it's pre-designed Hawaiian bowl or teriyaki chicken bowl or, whatever, jalapeno bowl. So we also, in case you don't know it, we serve keto bowls. They're extremely popular, keto and paleo, both. Now I want to transition to how you run the business. I mentioned ticket counts, right? I'm trying to remember if I have, here you go. Check count. Sorry, that has dollar signs on it. Shouldn't have dollar signs on it. But you can see this is actually the check count. This is an internal Google sheet. So we use the Google platform extensively. We use for safety and security of customer data and everything else. What I wanted to show this is how we view the world every week. Every week we look at this green column. The theory in this industry, and this is true of all fast food operators, is if your combined cost of goods and labor, your two biggest controllable costs, are at 55, you are at optimum operations. Rarely do you achieve 55. It's a goal, not a place. So you can see how we hit 57, we hit 55, 97, 52 average for the week. This is a combination of 7 stores all rolled up, by the way. But you can also see how food is bouncing around, and our target food is 31, and it's coming in higher, bouncing up and down higher and higher. We have seen we're past the big supply chain shortages, but we're still expecting all kinds of substitutions. So we have a negotiated price on chicken at $70 a case, and all of a sudden the substitutions are $150 a case. So we're doing our best to control our costs. And those of you who are near our restaurants have seen us take a few price increases. We've been very conservative about it. We know that if we move the price more than 50 cents, we get a huge backlash. But we try to keep price increases to be very low, specifically to dial back in. All they are is a corrective action to get this back to 55. And you guys, as our shareholders, want us to be at 55 because 55 is where the stores produce their target profitability. I've said it on all events, our target profitability per restaurant is $5,000 net free cash flow a month, $60,000 a year. That is not a bad return on a $100,000 cash investment. If we can consistently generate, by the way, that's not EBITDA. The true return is over $100,000 on $100,000, but half of it's going into debt service. We're getting a net free cash flow versus cash invested ratio of about 50% if we can keep it $5,000 a month. So also I want to just illustrate that column. This is, again, I apparently put dollar signs on it, but this is for 7 stores. You can see how, other than some holidays or like we just got hit by snow, those stores are averaging about 7,500, 72, 75, 77, 68. So they're bouncing around. The number of customers only moves around a little bit. It's how much business you do with those customers that's about the success of your stores. So now doing business. And so one of the things is we've got to have our crews fully engaged and moving. I'm way over time. I apologize. But I wanted to make these points. We have migrated over the last year to digital everything where we can get it. And what we're finding out is when the big quit happened and all these employees are swimming around between restaurants and UPS and Amazon, when they come in, what they're telling us is on their last job, they watch videos for a day. Where's the videos? Amazon, you watch 2 days of videos before you touch a package. UPS, even if you're a truck loader, 2 days of videos. So we have the videos, I'll show you in a second, but we also have automated scheduling. Everybody puts in their preferences. They request their days off. They swap shifts. This used to all be done by the managers. It used to be massively time consuming. Now it's very quick, very simple. It's drag and drop. What we've learned is the generation of people who work and live in our restaurants, they missed the Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Office acclimation phase. If you can do it on their phone or on the iPad, they are awesome at it. And they are timely and they get their tasks done. So we are moving everything to apps. This entire thing is like playing Words with Friends. You can whip out a schedule in 15 minutes. You can tell all your cost controls are measured. It broadcasts out to the whole team. The team, if they need to substitute, they push a few buttons on their phone and swap shifts. It is game changing, not just because the technology is better, because our employees prefer to work here because it's easy. It's too hard at some other restaurant where they used to work. So this is just one dimension. The second dimension is checklists. We've always had checklists. We live and die by checklists. Just like I consulted at Boeing years ago and was working with the checklist that a pilot goes through to launch a plane. It's all in writing. It's 10 per screen. They still do it to this very day. They have their little flip charts. Having a friend that actually works on that stuff. So we have checklists, but they used to be a grease marker and a tablet, and you ran around the restaurant and did your checkoff. We never knew whether you really did it or not. And a lot of people just drew a line down it saying they did it. Well, now it's monitored and they have to sign in. We can see at the bottom of the screen, compliance. Oops, change screens here. And this is just a snapshot of the pre-lunch rush opening checklist. So, or pre-lunch checklist. It used to be something only a manager could do. Now, the last person to clock in, who might be a 3-hour part-timer, they hand them the iPad, they run around and do the check. They check everything. What's stocked in the hot pots? What's stocked in the tables? Make sure we have enough food to not run out. Is it clean? We make them take photographs as they go. Is the room organized and clean like it should be? And my favorite at the bottom, Elena gets a giggle out of this, is I make them take a picture of the toilet, right? You can't believe this. Until we started this, my number one aggravation was when I would go in our restaurants, the bathrooms would be terrible. Now, they would have their little check off that said they checked it, but they didn't check it. They didn't do anything about it. Now we said, look, I'm going to be biased here, but women will not return to a restaurant with a dirty bathroom, right? We did change another thing. We made our bathrooms unisex. We haven't completed all the restaurant changes, but that way there's plenty of available restrooms. Sorry, we made the restrooms unisex. And, I'm going to be blunt here, but men quit peeing on the floor, right? Men are a problem in their bathrooms. So when it became unisex, the men started to clean up their act. Then we started taking pictures of the toilets. We have impeccable bathrooms. We stopped getting complaints on social media about our store was dirty. Our store was dirty was just a euphemism for the bathrooms are dirty, because the front room's never dirty. We are meticulous. Point is, love it. It's automated. The crew loves it. They feel high tech. They feel empowered. The feedback is just fantastic. Also, that same technology as the training videos. So when somebody comes in for their first day, they literally sit down for 30 minutes and go through how to make all the entrees. They go through a whole training session on cleanliness and food safety and temps and all that sort of thing. So it is really, really working. It has been a long year of work and investment to get it there. So come full circle to the plan is grow. Take what we have. We've got a foundation. It's kind of cash flow neutral right now. We've got a whole bunch of big pile of cash in the bank that we can only use for very limited things and not to pay ourselves and not to pay you guys. But it makes us look good so we can go lease those restaurants and start building. I want to wrap up with this. Our world is a tale of two websites. Those of you who have invested, almost everyone came through this website. This is operated by our ad agency with all the sophisticated analytics and stuff. You'll notice that it does have an FAQ page on it. On that FAQ page, which is also on our main website, basically Ned and Elena over the last 2 years have fed me, each month or two, the top 5 more questions we need to answer. There are almost 100 of these miniature videos. It's me answering one question. So you can go through those at your leisure. You can go over to our website. So not our website, our Tasty Equity YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is full of them. If you go over to the videos and search for, where they come right up, because they're the most recently watched, you'll see them, but you can search for bite size, if I can spell, and you will get a page full of bite-sized bulletins. Just scroll through them for any question you might. I'm not trying to torture you by making you go do the FAQ. I hate looking at FAQs personally, but if you're trying to learn about us and quiet in your spare time and just want to dig into it, Ned has helped me really compile answers to just about everything out there. I'm sure you've seen a few of them. The biggest thing, most important thing I could get across to you guys who are joining us as investors is you got a lot of communication from us while we were trying to win your heart as an investor, and shortly thereafter while you're going through the process of becoming an investor. But then it all goes dark. And that's because we're not spending advertising money to reach you anymore because you're in the family. To be in the family, just simply follow our Facebook Tasty Equity page or our Instagram page. You will get a steady flow of daily updates, comments, tidbits. Occasionally they'll run the bite-sized bulletins. May even run some promotions for, if you are in the proximity of a restaurant and the system knows that, you may even get some announcements for a special secret deal for investors. And we hope that as we get to the end of the summer, honestly, I think it's going to be that long, that we're safely through, at least the pandemic is dulled down to just an endemic, as they call it. And the flu is past and it's safe to be in a restaurant together. Then we want to go back and do live events. And we got our film crew. I just talked with them yesterday. They're chomping at the bit to do it. Elena helped me. It was so fateful that we did our very first and last live event on February 29th, right before the markets collapsed and COVID was announced. So we're looking
we jinxed it, Chris. We jinxed
it. We did.
We jinxed the whole COVID.
I mean, I basically haven't traveled since I came home from that event. So thanks, everybody, for joining us. I'm going to shut up for now, and I'll flip through slides and answer questions. Elena's going to try to feed me some questions here.
So there were just a couple minor questions, and I already answered those during these, so I think we're set there. And also, thank you, participants. We actually have a really high number of participants that are still on. So I know we stress every time to hold till the end, so we can wait on a couple minutes and see if anyone has anything that they've just been patiently waiting on. Or perhaps our presentations are getting better and we answered all your questions. So it's up to you guys, but we can hang on a few minutes if there's anything out there. But I did respond to about 3 different, during the thing that I just did off to the side, Chris, that I didn't want to bother you with.
Great. Well, what I'll do for a second while everybody's still watching, over on the YouTube channel, there's a couple options. If you go to, again, if you're trying to get to know us, you want to learn more about us, we created a number of playlists in here. I have no idea what that is. The playlist, for example, here is a whole bunch of bite-sized bulletins, but they're organized. Let me stop it. But they're organized into groups of information. So that's one way to look at the channel. See if I can go. Sorry, my control panel is in the way of. How do we get back? They're also, if you want a little bit of fun, if you go to the home channel, before we engage the big fancy Redtail Media ad agency that who did this animated video and manages all of our marketing. Well, here's that live event. You can see the live event where we interviewed people, including my angel investor friend of mine who helped us out. You can go, these are fun videos. Here, like, for example, this one's, here, I'll throw this one on just for silliness.
Okay, you're gone.
Can you hear the audio?
Yes, yes, I can.
Well, this is fun. I'm being silly for me.
Hey,
Yeah.
We have a question that just came in.
Okay.
Ever fantasized about owning a rapid fire pizza?
Okay, let's go to the real questions.
Even though I love hearing about the three brothers getting into trouble on their motorcycles, but since I appreciate everyone's time, but we have an investor that says, are there options to invest to be a silent partner in one of the stores?
There absolutely are. So the way that works is each time we have a restaurant location selected that we want to buy, that's part of what Elena's function is here, and Ned will help with it too. But as I put as it qualifies for, it's the right demographics, we want to lease it, we've decided to do it. We first and foremost, we have our cash, right, as Tasty Equity. We have to show to the bank we have $100,000 and we're good to go. So we'll be ready for that, and we can do that even now. But my goal for next quarter, I won't get it done in January, February, is to add a page to our website that shows each of the pending sites, because it takes a while. If any of you guys have been through this, we start talking to a landlord and they show me a location today, and then I go through all the demographic research. A month from now, we're working on a lease. And if they really hustle, within 6 weeks, we can have a lease that we can agree on signing. Then I have to go get a contractor's bid. Then I get all that together, and then I go to the bank officially. But the bank knows from day one I'm working on it. The landlord knows I'm working on it. The whole process takes about 90 days. That goes much faster in the case of the stores we're trying to buy. And I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to buy those with the money we have right now. But if you are interested, what we want to do is get in touch with you, have a one-on-one call. Elena, you can reply to the invitation you got that has Elena's email address on it, or use the contact us on the main website. It'll go through to Ned. Excuse me. We'll do a one-on-one call. We are putting together a true limited partner arrangement. I have a few documents that need to be drafted. We use limited partners to get to the first 4 stores. And when we bought the group of 7 stores, Ray and I and Pete bought those directly because we had some limitations on the amount of debt we had on the public company at the moment. So my point is, I have to adapt some documents. But what I can show you, if you're very interested, let's have a call next week. No reason to let any grass grow. Have a call next week. We'll walk you through what it means to be a limited partner. The idea of a limited partner is you're in the 3-year game with us. It's a 3-year buy-sell agreement. So if it takes, typical projects, $500,000, that's $400,000 in bank debt, $100,000 in cash. You would be $25,000 to $50,000 of that cash. You may say my comfort limit's $25,000. Okay, start with that. We'll match the other funds in from my other 2 friends. The idea is, as a limited partner, you get a fixed rate of return. It's different than being a Class B investor. You're just like us, but we don't have any payout during the first year because that's the heavy advertising expansion year. During year 2 and year 3, we expect to go to normal dividends in a restaurant. Now, again, for Tasty Equity investors on this call, the dividends just get recycled inside the company. But for a person who is a direct investor in a restaurant, who is willing to take that risk and be party to the business, as a Class B investor, you're sheltered 2 or 3 layers out. I sign the leases. I sign the bank guarantees, as does Brother Pete. We take all the risk. You guys are riding along for the upside because you're giving us capital to grow faster than we could grow on our own. But if you become a limited partner, you're still sheltered from the personal guarantees, but you are putting your money directly into a restaurant. And after 3 years, we agree that either we buy you out, you buy us out. We agree to stay together. Hopefully, I execute the institutional investment to bring them in. So to just bottle that up real quick, if we build a restaurant for $500,000 a day, next year, after it's operated for a year, let's say it's making $100,000 a year in EBITDA. That means the banker will value the business a year from now at $400,000. Sorry, I did that wrong. $150,000 a year in EBITDA is our target. So the banker would say 4 times 150, it's worth $600,000. So we've increased about $200,000, 100 to 200,000 from year 1 to year 2. But when the institutional investor comes along, they routinely pay a multiple of 10 to 12x. So if they did 10x, that's basically double what we did. So if you invested $25,000, and nothing else changed and you didn't get any money along the way, then, and they invested at a double the valuation, we would allow you to sell your stock into that transaction. Does that make sense? So then you could get, literally you could sell $25,000 of your value into it and still own 25% of the company, right? Because again, these institutional investors don't want to buy us out. They don't want to end up with a headless monster of a bunch of restaurants. They want to buy a well-oiled machine, put gas in the tank, and help us open more restaurants faster. And I mentioned way back here the Gold States. We had much grander scheme of plans when we first went public, because we have conversation, a dialogue, if I can get back there, with the area developers in the Gold States. Well, it's way back at the beginning. Those 15 Gold States that are somewhat obscure here, all the way down to Texas, Louisiana, whatnot, those guys are willing to match us 50-50 too. And they're the area developer for that market. They're picking the locations. So if we can have a good year this year, and we can, if you're going to do a limited partnership investment, you're probably going to want that somewhere in proximity to you. Most of our limited partner types will only invest in something they can drive to. And this is an axiom within the restaurant industry. Most franchise operators don't build more than 50 miles from their office because it's too damn hard. I mean, we had to haul crews over from Youngstown over to Toledo when we lost 4 managers to COVID in 1 week. We literally, they had to close the restaurant and go home. So we had these guys drive over and stay in a hotel for a week and run the restaurants. That would have been really hard to do in South Carolina. I would have done it, but I would add the additional cost of plane tickets and travel time. So we want to have a good year building in our own backyard. If you want to participate with us in the Pittsburgh to Toledo I-90 corridor range, that's near term. Reach out to Lynn and we'll set a call.
And that begs the question, these next the next three are all location questions. So they're asking, I'm not sure if it's just because they love the food or because they want to invest, but one that's near and dear to me, since I'm from outside Detroit, is they're asking about Detroit, which definitely is a target.
Oh yeah, I'll go back to this one. Yeah, Detroit is in our active footprint. Elena, by the way, is someone who may be a LP investor with us. That's why she got interested in helping with our LP program. I believe you're in Ann Arbor, right, Sil?
Yes.
She lives in Ann Arbor. We scouted locations in the Detroit market. We were a little wary of it originally because we were very focused on the Rapid Fire brand at the time. And the Mod Pizza operator was expanding very aggressively up there. They definitely got that market working well. I'm no fear of Mod. 2 Mods came to Dayton. They lasted a year and a half, both closed, while Ray's stores flourished. So, but now we are probably 80% of our efforts going to go into Hothead store development right now because Hothead is on a run. The sales are high. The Rapid Fires are just getting their legs back under them. But yeah, if you're up in the Detroit market, we like Dearborn. We like, Livonia, you can see on the map. Taylor is where we were looking at a specific location. I have an operational team. My VP of operations is a guy named Mauro Di Vieste. We acquired him along with the group over in Youngstown. But we would do a lot by phone and then get Elena or Mauro to come up with you or both and just check comfort zones. But you'll find we are numbers driven. We're very focused on a particular model. We have talked with other investors who, we had a delightful chat with a guy who had hookah restaurants and was trying to diversify because hookah was hard to scale anywhere else. It was very regionalized to the population there. But it was just too complicated. They wanted to change the restaurant to be more like theirs and change the menu. And we're a fast food, let's call it fast casual franchise. It's a franchise system. It's rigid. It's by the numbers. That's what makes it work. And every franchisee who's gotten outside of those lines has gotten in trouble when they start trying to curtail the menu, limit the menu, change food products on the menu, or change the design of the interiors of the stores. It's crazy. They just fall right off a ledge performance-wise. And so we just don't allow it. And so, but if somebody's interested in, like my friend up in Cleveland, he said, Chris, I'll match you 50-50. I don't want to be on any management calls. Once a month, send me a little newsletter. He said, I'm trying to retire. I've got a lot of money, as I do personally, in the mortgage industry. I want to get it out of the mortgage industry, which is exactly why I put my money in restaurants. because guess what? Restaurants just muddle along, paying out their profit year after year after year, as long as you take really great care of your management team. That's why we put them in vehicles, why we get them insurance. It's why we pay them higher than average rates, and it is paying us dividends.
Absolutely. And I think that's really critical. So there's so many different structures. We're very operationally focused. Again, 3 generations of, everything from Subways to Tasty Equity to Hotheads, et cetera. So they've got the track record, which makes me, as a kind of have an investor profile, kind of interested in teaming up because they've got the operational side down. I've never run a restaurant. I've been in a lot of industries. I've never done that. I don't plan to ever really know. So that's why I like this team. So it's a good way to you can be as uninvolved or as involved as you'd like to be. So we have a couple, we got a few more locations. Looks like everyone's hungry. Maybe everyone skipped lunch because
we weren't showing the food. Food porn always wins.
I think everyone's hungry out there. So this is another person that, while you were talking about Michigan, he said he's been to the one you have in Pittsburgh, but he's wondering if Philadelphia is on the radar. And again, I know we don't want to keep everyone forever, so maybe a quick yes.
No, actually, we have some investors interested in co-investing in a store in the Philadelphia market. I would consider Philadelphia, but here's the criteria. We've learned over the years, you don't strand a restaurant in a town. You've got to get a couple. I go back, I pop my map up here just for a second.
Yeah, it's been numbers, and you taught me that, Chris, that basically you have to assume that one might do better than the other, so the whole group theory.
Oh yeah, well, and again, the really frank numbers is 1 in 10 franchise locations fails. That's according to Small Business Administration. Over the last 20 years, we've seen about that failure rate. Now, mostly, to use my banker's phrase, it's been due to death, dereliction, or divorce. The operator died, the family takes over, they don't know what to do with it, store crashes, and then they end up selling it. We've had divorces that were ugly where they fought over the restaurants. I can't think of, but maybe one, or we've had 2 that I know of where the stores simply underperformed. The sales were so low that it was cheaper to close it. And so what we do in that case, we're not crazy. We just sublease it. That's what everybody does. When a business fails, again, if you're a single one-off operator, you don't know how to do these things. If you're like us and you've got property, if I'm working with Tolson Real Estate or Starks Enterprises and I've got, 4 restaurants in their properties, one of them goes south, they're going to help me sublease that to a nail salon, get out of it, get out from the obligation. So, but going into Philadelphia, I like Philadelphia. My life is in the mortgage business. I have very, very large clients out there. Again, that's how I funded the restaurant business. I'm trying to retire. I'm never going to retire in the mortgage industry. Hopefully this is our one last big year. Once they get done raising rates, there won't be much of a mortgage industry. But we want to do it with somebody who will commit to do 3 stores. Pennsylvania, we had an area developer, but on the wrong side of the state, more over in the Pittsburgh area. But I am wide open to options. If you live in the Pittsburgh area and you're interested in co-investing, again, let's have a call together. The Atlanta will get that arranged. These calls aren't a fire drill. I have a brutal schedule across the businesses that I'm operating, but she will always make time, and I'm always accessible. I need lead time and a scheduled call. I can't do spontaneous calls. Yeah, we talked about that. And the question, what we would talk about is how do we get 3 locations there? How do we have a 3-location strategy? If we have a 3-location strategy, whether it's, you as an individual saying, I'll match it 3 times. Okay, great. Right. And you're local there, so you can kick the tires and keep us honest. Maybe even we have an area developer that will cover that area. But what the area developers do is they, like we do in our region, we have to evaluate all the locations before any franchise builds one. We're responsible for selling the franchises in the case where it's a franchisee location. And we're obligated to build 3 stores a year in our footprint. I happen to have 2 footprints. One is for rapid fire, one's for hothead. So, we want to stay within contract with the franchise system. So we're all ears, all ears.
To your point about having restaurants not be orphans on their own, and this is this one, and then we have just one more, and then I think we need to wrap up because we're coming at the top of the hour. But So the question was, this is a suburb of Cleveland, Strongsville, and Brunswick, Ohio, which is 20 miles southwest.
We're in both. Yeah, we have a Brunswick store and we have a Strongsville store. They both are in oddly oriented shopping strips. One is Strongsville is at the town center. There's like a town lawn where they have, bake sales and stuff. It's right next to what's one of those cake shops? I can't remember what it's called. The cake shop does a land office business, but they're all backwards. You can't see them from the street. But Strongsville and Brunswick are a story of two stores. They were created by the owner of the franchise system we bought over there, or of that batch of stores. The two owners were trust funds and kind of checked out, didn't oversee them, let the sales go down to the floor. So they were literally just barely operational and losing money. So when we took over the system last June, we took the team from Youngstown and put them in charge. They're driving up there every day. We churned out most of the crew who were standing around looking at their cell phones all day. Got all new crew, all new managers. Those stores went from $8,000 a week to $12,000 a week in sales. And what I can tell you is at $8,000 a week, you're losing money. At $12,000 a week, you're putting money in the bank, right? So it was a very fast turnaround. We are actively looking at other Cleveland suburbs. I can tell you one that comes to mind is Berea, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, or Berea is one. There's another one that's heavily concentrated in a university area, which I'm a little nervous about university stores. But we do have a top 10 list if we get on an individual call. We've done the demographics on these top 10, and we're currently doing an overlay with, again, a very storied long-term Cleveland landholder that has a lot of shopping centers, and they had a significant number of tenant failures. So we're looking to match up half a dozen locations with them. So we'd love your input, and if you have a bias to where you would like to do like a limited partner investment, then that might make that a higher priority. Right now there's 10 cities on the list, but no actual locations. And we have 5 restaurants, the little targets over here, 5 restaurants on the list that we're trying to buy. So
perfect. And then our last one, and then we'll wrap, because I can tell we've taken up, again, a lot of people's time.
Yeah,
but we still got a significant amount of participants. So
yeah, thanks for staying on with us, guys. We really appreciate it. Yeah,
this is our last one, and then we'll drop. And I know we're doing this, but just the latest update on new store opportunities in the West Coast. We've been talking about the Midwest mostly today. Do you have a quick West Coast 30 seconds?
Yeah, so the West Coast is a real challenge. Rapid Fire and Hothead both secured area developers in California. One is in Fremont, on the Fremont, right? Oakland side, in a very high rent, hip area. The gentleman is a successful subway operator with dozens of subways. He wanted to be our operator out there. They had a store failure, being very candid. They put it in one of these high-rise buildings with retail in the bottom and no parking. It was a rough year. He is undaunted. He is ready to open another location, but I'm going to let him do his thing by himself because he's somewhat distracted with his large subway operation. So it's one of those redheaded stepchild situations. So we do have an area developer out there that's motivated. In Southern California, where I'm much more comfortable, Orange County through San Diego, I have a close friend who is he's specialist in real estate location development for restaurants. His clients are In-N-Out Burger and El Pollo Loco and Pizza Hut. He kept us appraised of that market. We stayed out of it on purpose when the $15 an hour wage increase hit, because we were warned by him that his clients all gave him schedules of restaurants to close. Now, as I kept in touch with them, that was a couple of years ago. Essentially, wages normalized, very few locations closed. It's a stronger market than ever, but it's a scary high cost market. So I suspect we're going to get our legs under us, get to 20 restaurants before we consider going into California. One, I have to fly to everything there. I don't have any staff out there, and I would only do it in cooperation with an area developer who lives there. And I want to make them put up at least 50% of the money for the store. And it's got to be a 3-store plan. We can't do what this gentleman did where he put up one just to try it. We got to do a deliberate action. And one last thing I'll say is that you could see it, I think, on my this little picture here. These little areas are marked out between, Cleveland and Toledo. They are big, small towns. We do very, very well in big, small towns of about 50,000 people that are the shopping hub of their area. They typically have forgive my language, but a shitty old mall that's maybe been remodeled. They're too far away from Cleveland to drive to Cleveland and shop. They're too far away from Youngstown. So those big, small towns like Boardman, which has become a massive shopping center area. It's also home to I can never get their name right, Bartolomo family that invented the shopping mall. We're actually considering doing a 5,000 square foot rapid fire tap room in the Bartolomo. This refurbished, it was one of the very first malls in the whole country, created the concept. Obviously it died and it's been rebuilt. It's got a museum there about mall history. It's got an amphitheater. It's got a hockey rink. It's just amazing. And so, sorry, there's a funny one that I hadn't mentioned, about a 5,000 square foot huge tap room. We haven't talked about our self-pour today. But anyway, that's the general strategy, is that, the West Coast is expensive and risky. I would rather have ample cash flow here and then undertake the West Coast with an investor who's willing to back 3 to 5 locations and be there. Somebody needs to be there. This would be a more active investor. I don't need to work in the restaurants. I need eyes on property. I need somebody driving by those restaurants. So it may be the area developer. That's the area developer's job. But if we don't have an area developer, like we were looking at one in north of San Jose, we went right down to a joint venture agreement. Elena, you'll remember this. A gal who's about my age, who was a cop, she got shot on the job and basically retired. She had her retirement pension. She desperately wanted to, her dream was a bar. We had a location for it. It was near San Jose. But again, I couldn't get any regional support. It was a little bit too far away from the guy up in, distractions from text messages starting flowing. But it's a little too far away from our guy that was up in Oakland. So again, we're entertaining of it. Let's do those one-on-one. We're really good at it. We'll use a few slides. We'll talk about maps. We'll show you demographic data, and we'll equip you to go do more research on your own. So thanks everybody for staying so long with us.
Yeah, and I think, again, just to reemphasize, you guys are so operationally focused, which that has been my background besides the investing side. That's what I like. So we know our space now, we can keep track of it, et cetera. I think so if there is a West Coast person out there that really has a desire to do this and has that kind of background that matches, the Wiley brothers, then absolutely reach out to us. So.
Yep. Thanks. Thanks, everybody.